parent should be a good friend. I really believe it, and I think you have a different take.
Completely different take.
So can we please?
Yeah, and I would say, see, friendship is a beautiful relationship, and all of us, in fact, there used to be this slightly sarcastic quote I used to read: "Thank God we can choose our friends because relatives are already assigned." So I used to laugh at that, but we find friends of our own wavelength, and at different times in our life we look for different kinds of friendships. But if you look at marriage as well, again, there you don't become the friend of your spouse. You become a good companion. There's difference between companionship and friendship.
Yes.
And when I say companionship, it's a much deeper connect that you have with an intimate partner as well, and it's a very beautiful relationship that develops over a period of time, having dealt with a lot of conflict. A friend, on the other hand, does maintain some companionship needs, but is also that person who gives you a lot of space and comes in when there is a real need. And it's also a person you hang out with when you really need to chill and you really need to have downtime. Now when you're a parent, on the other hand, responsibility is a huge area. Okay, now your friend is not going to be responsible for you.
Obviously.
Okay, you want to do something, at most your friend will say, listen, I don't think this is good for you, kind of thing. But your friend is not going to come and say, listen, you can't do this, you don't do that. So the parent has to be a person who can say no in many ways, who can model a lot of behaviors which cannot otherwise be learnt from anyone else. And more importantly, the parent is somebody who has to be that safety net for the child. When you are a friend, these can become conflicting. Right? Now, for example, when you say, for example, experiment with alcohol, in all practical situations, the friend is experimenting with you.
Yes.
As a parent, it may not be the same. Okay, because then what you're doing is, because the child is still growing and does not know how much is enough. If you are going to let them experiment, different from modeling. You already drink socially, your child observes that and models. That is different. As opposed to, come, let me teach you, or let's experiment. Now this is where the conflict comes in. Secondly, when I say don't be the child's friend, when they're adolescents, they're going through their own infatuations, they're going through a lot of peer pressure and all that. You will not understand that no matter how much you read up about it. Because first, your brain is not the same.
Yes.
Okay? You're still not going through the testosterone surges and the progesterone surges that they're going to have. You have some wisdom, you've been dumped 2-3 times, you've developed your own wisdom of relationships and everything. And then this child is for the first time getting infatuated with somebody, and you go with your gyan and say, no, this will pass. No, it will not. Because for them, it's going to consume their whole time. And they have to come stronger out of that. When you step in and say, I'm your friend, and it doesn't work. On the other hand, you can have a connection ritual with your child, where the child can speak to you and have a two-way communication. All that is fine, but you're still the role of parent. Your role is different. The equality is the same. Whether you're a friend, a companion, a parent, you will still remain equal, but the boundary levels are different. In a friendship, your boundaries are different. In a parenting relationship, your boundaries are different. And that's where I'm saying a parent should never be a friend, because somewhere in a child's life, they must have somebody to say no. And that, I think, the parent needs to do. And that's why my take is slightly different on that one.
But
You've been using the word modeling very often.
Yes.
And the famous proverb says that don't preach, practice. They're not going to listen to what you say. What you do is what they're going to follow.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, very tough to practice. So can you elaborate on the modeling?
See, modeling. Now the point is, whether you like it or not, you're modeling. Okay, because what happens is there will be always people who will be inspired by you and people who dislike you. And that's normal human tendency. But in the role of a parent, you actually take it, modeling becomes a much stronger thing, because for the first 12 years, you are probably the hero or the heroine for your child. They're going to take every possible habit from you because you are in their immediate environment. It's not like suddenly the child is going to be 3 years old and say, I want to be like Mahatma Gandhi or Abdul Kalam. They're not going to be inspired at that level. In fact, we gain inspiration later in life from people who are greats. And very few people actually even look up to that level. For most people, their world begins and ends with the parent. Which is why that modeling aspect is very important. So, when we use foul language or when we are inconsistent, the child also starts taking a reality from that. Why this is so important is in terms of psychological theories. If you look at it, the environment in which the child is begins to be the real environment for them. That is their only connect to reality, which is why modeling is such an important thing. And I've always quoted, in fact, my book also. I had children who were from a war-torn area. They were refugees from there. And when they were 2 years old and they were playing with each other and they got into a fight, one of the boys picked up a rifle and he went and stabbed his brother because his model of normal is a war-torn area, and he believed that anything can be solved by violence, right? And so when the father is, for example, using abusive language to solve a problem, the child is learning, I can also at some point use abusive language. Or when I'm being discriminatory, when I'm treating one person differently, another person differently, I'm letting my child know it's okay to be discriminatory. That's why social problems have no solutions at policy level. They can change only at family level. And that's where modeling is so important. So I would just sum it up with, if you really want a behavior in your child, it should first be there in yourself. If it's not in you, it's not going to be in your child.
Excellent, actually. Lot to do from our side to
On ourselves.
on ourselves.
On ourselves first, always.
Yes, yeah. So if we are, we can become a good human being, at least a better person than today. Then
that's the most
important thing. So thank you. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.